Nassim, tell me a little bit more about your training programs and your conferences and your speeches.
Oh, well, you know, at the Resonance Project, we are putting together like organizational structures so that we can help the public to, get deeper into the science and philosophy and the ancient culture and knowledge that I've gathered all through these years. And so, we kept on running into issues where people were saying, well, I love your seminars and your talk and everything, but it's so fast and there's so much information and I need a little more time and all this. So we finally started to give to organize for weekend seminars that I call delegate programs. And in the delegate program, we spend 2 days and a half together, and I go through all the information, and people are able to ask questions, and we spend a lot of time together, and it's a wonderful weekend altogether, and lots of learning and exploration. And then there's the emissary program, and the emissary program is a program I set up because I need to duplicate myself.
Huh.
It's important for people to get this information, and it's really hard for me to continue to do research, ongoing research, and at the same time be out there giving talks everywhere in the world. So I started to train people so that they could give the talks, and that's more of a elaborate program. It's 10 days altogether, and people get my presentation and a big book, and we study together, and then when they come out, they're ready to give talks.
Okay, let's go back to the phones. Long Beach, California. Hey, Ralph, go ahead. First time caller.
Hello, George.
Hey.
Hey, Nassim, thank you for taking my call.
Sure thing.
Oh, thank you.
I had a quick, reasonable theory here. The thing is I always had a curiosity about the sun and all, and you know how we were taught that it has certain layers and whatnot?
Yes.
Okay, but technically we've never really dissected a star to actually know what's inside of it, and I know there's some kind of a thing with nuclear fusion and whatnot, but my kind of reasonable thing here would be, since space is supposedly made out of carbon dioxide, when you have fire and you surround it by carbon dioxide, it technically would put it out, correct?
Yes. Yes.
And so, I mean, I don't know, in theory, because of the fact that oxygen fuels a fire, wouldn't it be reasonable that oxygen, even as a gas, would probably be fueling the sun from the inside?
That's a good question, actually. The thoughts, the current thoughts on the reason why the sun is burning is nuclear fusion. That is, the nuclei of the atoms are so densely packed at certain levels of density of the sun that it starts fusing under its own weight, and that's the energy output that we see. So, but there is all sorts of really strange things about the sun. The way, that most people think we know why the sun is burning and how it's burning and all this stuff. Actually, there's anomalies there. For instance, in order for nuclear fusion to occur that way, a certain amount of particles called neutrinos should be produced, and we know how much neutrinos should be produced. Well, when we try to detect those neutrinos, we are missing some 80% of the neutrinos that should be produced in order for the sun to burn. So that's a big anomaly. There's other anomalies, like the fact that the corona of the sun is much hotter than the surface of the sun. Other interesting facts that most people don't know about. For instance, the fact that water seems to emerge from sunspots, which are large vortices, large black vortices on the surface of the sun. And there we see, spectral lines of water come out. And you wouldn't expect that, right beside the fire of the sun. And so, yeah, oxygen and so on. And so there is very complex physics involved there, very complex dynamics that are going on. And I believe wholeheartedly, and in the last section of my scaling law paper that you can find on our website, I described the fact that the sun's core is in the correct ratio relative to the galactic core for the sun to host a mini black hole at its center. This theory says that these power levels, the dynamics that makes the sun burn, or the dynamics that makes planets like Jupiter and Saturn emanate more energy or radiate more energy than it receives from the sun, or the fact that the center of the Earth produces large amount of heat and electromagnetic and magnetic fields and so on, is because they are powered by little singularities, by little black holes.
Okay, thank you. Let's go next to Brooklyn, New York. Jan, it's your turn. Hi, Jan.
Hi.
Hi.
You asked earlier you were talking about how the nutrients affect matter. Now, I was wondering, the GM food now that's being served to human beings, how do you think it's going to affect matter? Do you think people are going to be born with dumber brains? And also, the Union of Concerned Scientists and the American Academy of Environmental Medicine just came out last year and said how it's affecting people's liver and spleen and aging, and even GM food doesn't even give more yields. So
all right. What's your take, Nassim, on GM foods? You're changing things, aren't they?
They are, and they're changing things at levels where we have very little control, very little understanding, and where the chain of events that makes our biology and our biosphere possible and operative and striving is a very, very delicate chain, and messing around with it, I think, is not a good idea. And I think that it's been shown that things could be done in a completely different way to produce all the food we need, and so on. So I think that it's really important that we go back to a level of reverence for nature, and take a little pause on the expenditure of our technology and our capacity to modify things before we put them into the environment.
Okay, next up we've got you, Wally, in Flat Rock, Michigan, east of the Rockies. Hi, Wally.
Hey, thank you, George.
Sure.
Thank you for taking my call.
You are welcome.
I wanted to ask your guest a couple of questions. First, I heard him mention neutrinos a few minutes earlier. And I know a neutrino is so minute, it can pass through an atom without even touching it. Am I correct?
Yes, it's very.
And there are things even smaller, like quarks that are smaller than neutrinos. And the distance between these particles is relative to possibly the distance between the Earth and the nearest star.